All right, Michael, let's pull out the confidence meter here for some teams in the NFL. 6 of them 2-0, 5 of them 0-2. And I want to start with the 2-0 teams, and specifically, I want to start with the Buffalo Bills. They are the Super Bowl favorites. They've been the Super Bowl favorites since about March of this year, and so far, so good for Bills Mafia. 2-0, point differential of plus 55. Get this, Michael. One sportsbook here in Las Vegas has the Bills at plus 250 to win the Super Bowl. You have to go all the way back to the 2007 Patriots to see a team with that short of odds entering week number 3 to hoist the Lombardi trophy. Is this Bills team, do they stand above the rest of these 2-0 teams in the rest of the league, in your opinion?
I mean, I think when you evaluate teams, you got to play it in your head. How do you have to play them to beat them, right? Like, how do you have to play them, all right? So you say, well, okay, Tennessee, and this is where I screwed up last week, giving out Tennessee and the 10 points. You know, Tennessee will reduce the game. Run the ball, you know, keep Josh Allen next to Sean McDermott, you know, only have the ball 25 minutes, yada, yada, yada. Well, they couldn't run the ball. Buffalo's run defense, for however bad it looked in New England against New England in the win game, has changed, right? So since that game in New England, they've played 9 games, regular season games and playoffs. Of those 9 games, 7 of them they've gone over 400 yards. So that's why those odds are like the Patriots in 07, because this offense is so explosive. So when the defense doesn't allow you to run the ball and control the pace of the game, and the offense is getting at bats, they're going to gain their yards. It's hard to stop them. So how do you visualize playing them? I think the only way you visualize playing them is you got to get into a track meet and hope, it's tennis basically, and hope you can hold serve once or twice in the game. I think that's hard to do. I mean, the punter of Buffalo's got the easiest job in the world, other than staying warm on Sunday. You know, I mean, because he's not going to punt. So I think they're for real, because I don't see a way of playing them that every team can do. Like, I think it's hard. Like, Kansas City might be able to do it and beat them in a one game. Okay, I got that. But tell me another team that's going to play them and be able to match them. Could Baltimore play them and match them? Might be challenging, you know? Might be. The Chargers might be able to. So there's, you know, they're not unbeatable, but they're hard to play. And I think that's why the odds are tilted that way. I think they are for real.
It might sound silly to ask this heading into week 3, but is there a chance that we could see a potential 17-0 season? I'm looking at the schedule right now, Michael, for the Bills, and we'll get to the other 2-0 teams here in just a bit, but I think this would be interesting. At Miami this Sunday could be tricky. At Baltimore, so we'll find out if the Ravens can play with them next week on October 2nd. Then they're home against the Steelers. At the Chiefs week 6, that's going to be a monster showdown. Then the bye week 7. You want to stop on Chiefs?
That's the one.
Okay, that's the one.
I mean, I think that could be the one that could. I mean, if there's going to be one, I mean, Baltimore could upset them too, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Baltimore's always, you know, but Baltimore's got that one player. You're going to need somebody who tilts the field for you. Lamar tilts it for them. Mahomes tilts it for them. You know, Trubisky's not going to tilt it for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to need everything to go right, and they still might lose.
Yeah, they need to force 5 turnovers and need all of overtime to win the football game against Cincinnati. What do you think is going to happen against Buffalo?
Only because our man Zach Wilson still has no idea how to manage the clock. Still. They should take the clocks down in Cincinnati. Zach doesn't give a shit about them. I don't know why they have them. Just keep it on the field. Let the officials just run it. Zach could give a shit about it, you know?
It's like middle school football with no scoreboard.
Yeah, I mean, why have a scoreboard? Zach's probably looking at scoreboard. What do we need that for? I don't even pay attention to that.
But this Buffalo team, it looks like they're going to have an elite season, barring health, and we hope they're able to stay healthy. We hope all these teams are able to stay healthy. But think about what their secondary is doing without Tre'Davious White. Imagine when he comes back. They have Kyer Elam playing well. Poyer and Hyde, I know Hyde's a little bit banged up this week, but, man, they're going to be a really good team. And especially if they have a lead, and that's my thing. If this team gets a lead on you, good luck coming back against them with Von Miller coming off of the edge and that secondary being as good as it is.
I mean, to me, the key to this game going on, and one of the things I do on my stat sheet every week is looking at negative plays. And for Buffalo to play good defense against this Miami team, it's not going to be their secondary. It's going to be their ability to get Tua into 2nd and 15, to get Tua into 3rd and 12, to get Tua into 1st and 20. Like, you got to force negative plays. There's two type of negative plays: negative plays that create turnovers, and negative plays that just create negative plays, right? So when when you force a negative play that creates a turnover, it's because he had to get rid of the ball too soon by pressure, and you pick it off. Whereas if you force a negative play with a sack, that's just a negative play. But now it changes how the quarterback has to function. And if you allow Tua to stay in 2nd and 6 and 3rd and 2, and all the field is perfect for him, it's going to be hard for Buffalo to get off the field. We saw that in the opening drive by Tennessee. But once it became challenging, once they kept trying to run the USC toss and it's 2nd and 14, Tannehill was screwed.
Yeah, that's a situation in Tennessee that we'll get into with the 0-2 teams. But I want to talk more about some of these 2-0s. Buffalo, we know that they're legit best team in the league as we sit here on September 22nd. Kansas City, you mentioned, is a team that could be a challenger to Buffalo. Where are you at with the Chiefs right now at 2-0? Really impressive week 1. In my opinion, probably should have lost week 2 against the Chargers, if not for a couple things breaking their way. What do you make of the Chiefs here through 2 weeks?
I think the Chiefs will get better because Reed's teams typically get better as the year goes on. And they play well to start out too. But I think, to me, the more teams look at how they want to move the football, I think it'll become harder and harder. It was hard to move the football against the Chargers, right? And if it's not for the Hilaire run, that seals the game, that the Chargers kind of got misaligned and weren't perfectly situated defensively, I think they lose that game too. So I think the Chiefs are very beatable. I could see the Chiefs losing to Denver. I could see the Chiefs losing to the Raiders. I think the Chiefs are, I'm not saying they're very beatable. They're beatable. Whereas, but they have a kind of team that can score, that can score. I mean, Miami can score with explosive plays. There's no denying it because of Tyreek Hill. Now, can they make explosive plays when there's not free access and there's not wide open guys? That remains to be seen.
Dolphins playoff team, and that's the ceiling? Or do you think that this team could potentially make a deep run in January?
I mean, look, I think the Dolphins, unless you really understand how to defend them and rush Tua the right way, they're going to win their share of games. You've got to rush them inside. You've got to put pressure on them, and you got to force negative plays. I think for 2-0, I mean, they've been in 2 games. They should have lost last week. They are a 1-1 team. They're beatable. I think they lose 6 games, 7 games. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think you better make sure you understand how to take them away. And I think a lot of these coordinators in the league don't understand that. They don't take away a guy. You got to take away the player. You got to take away Tyreek Hill. You can't let him just run around on you. He's still going to make plays like he did against New England. He's still going to jump ball. He's 4 inches shorter than the guy he's jumping with, and he out rebounds him. So, but I'm not sold they're good enough defensively. This will be a true test for him. Especially if Xavier Howard doesn't play on Sunday. How are they going to match up to the receivers, and how are they going to handle Josh Allen? That's going to be a challenge.
I'm not sure many people had 2 NFC East teams at 2-0, and I don't think anybody had the New York Giants being one of those teams, as both the Eagles and the Giants are 2-0. We've talked Eagles. We've liked this team for quite a bit of time here. We're not quite setting up the parade on Broadway, but we do like this team. We were early adopters on Fly Eagles Fly, but
I mean, come on. The Giants could easily be 0-2. Come on, we know this. Stop with this.
Be careful, Michael. Giants Twitter is a little spicy. They're a little spicy.
Oh, I love it. They're great. Good for them. And they look, after you're winning 22 games over the last 5 years, stick your goddamn chest out. Be proud of yourself. Yeah, hell yeah. But let's have some realistic. If they have to play perfectly to win. That's a hard thing to do over 17 weeks. It's a hard thing to do over 17 weeks, is to play perfectly and win. They've got to manage the quarterback. You got to manage the quarterback. You can't give up big plays in the pass game. You got to make sure that you can get some kind of pass rush. You got to be really good at in-game adjustments, which I thought they did last week. So it's a hard. I mean, look, what's the difference between the Panthers and the Giants?
Nothing.
Okay. Panthers are 0-2. Giants 2-0.
Panthers are better.
Panthers lost 2 games because they turned the ball over. They've turned the ball over. And they can't create a turnover. It's as simple as that. It's as simple. They lost on a 54-yard, 64-yard field goal, and they lose on another field goal. They lost 2 games by 5. I mean, the margin is so different. Let me ask you, if the Panthers and the Giants played 5 games, I think the Panthers win 7. But down that Sunday, they didn't.
No, I agree. I mean, the Panthers were road favorites in New York. Like, let's get real. I know the Giants won the game, and Giants Twitter is going to get all spicy. Hang the banner for being above 500 for the first time since 2016. I don't care. The Giants are not a good football team. I have no confidence in them.
No, I don't care either. I mean, they might win 11 games, and I'll still say it. Like, they're not. They're not good.
Please win 11 games so I can bet everything against you in the playoffs. 0-2.
Yeah, exactly.
Which 0-2 team do you think is most equipped to bounce back? We have the Bengals, Titans, Raiders, Panthers, and the Falcons. Which one do you think gets out of the hole?
Bengals, Titans, Raiders, Panthers. Well, I mean, I think the Panthers can get out of this. I think they play New Orleans really well. They play New Orleans well. They played them well last year. I think they held them to 180 yards on last year with Winston at quarterback in Carolina. And then at the end of the year, they moved the ball on them. They scored last year in the beginning of the year. They had a good plan against the Dennis Allen. I mean, look, do I think Carolina's going to be a Super Bowl team? No, but I think they can be respectable. I think the Raiders, to me, when I watch the Raiders, and I have a personal interest in this, obviously, as I do with Carolina, I mean, I think the Raiders have to figure out who they are, right? You know, you're a new coach, you're a new staff, you get in there, you got to manage yourself. This is, to me, the theme of week 2. And once you do that, you know, okay, this is really who I am. Make the adjustments and then get going. So I think they got a chance to turn this thing around at 0-2. Who else did you give me? Cincinnati's offensive line. To me, 13 sacks in 2 games. You know, everybody's betting them against the Jets. No one's betting them against the Jets. Only 7% of the money's coming in on the Bengals. Bad lines don't travel, Femi. I mean, bad lines don't travel. And if you can pressure, and poor Burrow's getting the shit beat out of him. And the other problem is, too, you know, we all talk about Jamar Chase being great, and he is great. But he's averaging 12 yards. He's got 1 touchdown. You know, his target percentage this year is at 50%. So he's had so many targets and he's only had 50% of the catches. That's horrible. That's horrible, you know? And so can't protect, can't get the ball to your best player, and you can't make a big play. I think that's a hard recipe to overcome.
It's a bad one. The Bengals were the AFC champions last year. The Titans were the number 1 seed in the AFC, both of them 0-2. Do you believe the Titans can get out of this hole?
I mean, look, I like the Titans defensively. I don't like them offensively, but they've got a bunch of injuries right now. I respect the shit out of Vrabel. I don't like their talent base. I've always thought Vrabel's gotten more out of their talent than theirs. I don't think I don't think they're weapons offensively. And they haven't rushed for a 100-yard game. They haven't played their game. They got to play their game. If they beat the Raiders this week, it's because Henry runs the ball and they have it 34 minutes and the Raiders can't get the ball back. That's how they got to win. And Tannehill makes plays with his feet. But, you know, they got 2 starting tackles out going into this game. That's going to be a problem. Who's the receiver that you fear? If you take Robert Woods out of the game, is Burks going to beat you with? No, I don't think so. So where are they getting points from? I mean, the Giants did a nice job with them. You know, limit Henry from running, curtail him, and then make sure that you can block the front. You got to block Simmons. You got to block this front, but the corners you can make plays on.
Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.